All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Board of County Commissioner meeting for June 13th. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. First thing we have on our agenda are the minutes. Gentlemen, do we have any additions or corrections?
Okay. I move to approve the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners for Montezuma County held on June 6, 2023 as presented.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Montezuma County Commissioners, June 6, 2023. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh.
Okay, next up is planning. Come on down, Don. Sharon Jane.
Good morning. First item is the exemption that was approved last week. We have the exemption document to be signed today.
Okay.
I don't know if you want to do that now. We also have a Mylar for the Denton boundary line adjustment from a month or so ago to be signed. If you want to get those out of the way.
Get them out of the way, roll
All
them
right,
out.
let's do it.
I'll send this to you too, Ken.
Okay.
Okay, there you go.
Got an extra agenda. Do you need one? Okay. Got an extra agenda.
So do I.
Okay.
I'm hoping there's no difference in them, because I'm just going off the top ones. Okay.
Okay. So you just want us to carry around more paper, okay?
Okay,
And item number 2 is the continuance of the variant setback request
okay.
from the Hams.
I see them in the back.
There's Les. So looking into this further, and the application has been amended for actually 2 parts. The first, that building was built somewhere between 2014, 2017. The previous owner says He built it in 2014, but he's also the one that didn't do anything right per the land use code. The assessors show it picked up in 2017. So they're requesting an after-the-fact variance for the setback to the west property line.
So that's the 15-foot variance, right?
Correct. That's how they purchased it in 2019.
So the 80-foot structure is the one that's there, correct?
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
storage unit, I guess?
It's our boat storage.
Coverage, okay. Okay. So is this now separate?
Well, we ain't built it yet.
That's the existing
That's
building.
where the dotted lines are is what I want to add on to. The one that's solid is already present.
And we checked the covenants and the PUD conditions, and those are per the land use code. Those were not revised to be any less restrictive. So it's still the required 50-foot setback from commercial industrial to residential. Therefore, this building's sitting there non-compliant.
By the 15 feet to the west?
Correct.
And this was prior to you guys purchasing
Yeah.
it in 2017 or whenever, 14 to 17?
And so, Don, at this point, obviously the request is for a variance. Is there any other options to get the property into compliance with the land use code?
The other avenue would be to go through the PUD amendment process and to attempt to reduce the setbacks required for the whole PUD. All 4 lots are zoned industrial. And I don't know in that specific area that all the owners of the lots are for that. They've addressed that with them already. And I don't know that any neighbor is going to be affected. To the west is the only one that has any residences, but they've got about, I don't know, 6 or 7 houses out there from predating the land use code.
On the other side.
And they signed a non-opposition letter to the existing setback that building's at now and for any expansions.
So let me ask you a question. Other than Lot 3, it looks like you guys have Lot 1, which is probably the big lot? Or
We have lot 1 and 4.
so,
Lot 1's at the entrance, Lot 4 is vacant to the east.
okay. Behind
Scroll
you
up to
then.
the map
Behind
if you, there you go. That's Lot 1.
So would it be cleaner instead of a variance to change those lot lines within that PUD? I mean, I don't know.
Well,
Because,
you could amend the PUD to have different setbacks, as Don said. And that would probably be cleaner than a variance, because then you're
it
operating within the
cleans
confines of the land
everything
use
within
code. Now, obviously, this would have to go through the process and go before the Planning and Zoning Commission, and then it would run conceivably up here. And you guys would have to make a decision on whether you wanted to grant an amendment to that PUD and to the setbacks within that PUD. But, that certainly, from a legal perspective, could be a lot cleaner option, because then you're not operating outside the land use code with a variance.
Okay, I got a question. I talked to somebody, and since my neighbors already signed the paper, and they're part of the PUD, they pretty much agreed to change it.
And so that would certainly be something for the Planning and Zoning Commission to consider, and then this board to consider if there was an application to amend the PUD. It's also something that you guys can consider in terms of the variance. But, with variances, if you grant a variance just on the basis of a non-opposition letter alone, then you conceivably are setting a precedent that when folks come in and ask for variance, then if they have non-opposition letters from surrounding property owners, then the thing flies. And obviously, I mean, one of the big problems with that is properties change hands. And, the setbacks are in effect to protect neighboring property owners. I mean, that's what the land use code sets forth. And so if you deviate outside of that, yeah, maybe right now it's okay, but at some point it could create problems. It's bigger problem though from a precedential standpoint. I mean, if you're just granting a variance based solely on non-opposition letters, then you're setting a precedent that you're gonna grant variances based on non-opposition letters.
So you own 1 and 4. Manus and Associates owns 3, is that
Yes.
correct?
Correct.
And then who owns, I don't see a name on that one.
Sharon Underwood out of Durango.
Susan or Sharon?
I thought it was Sharon. Is it
Okay.
Susan?
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
Susan Underwood Hart.
Yeah.
I think she's the one that created the PUD originally.
So let me ask you a question then. To clean this up, to make it better within this PUD, I'm just curious, what's the process? What's the timeline? What's it gonna take? Because some of this stuff really should get back in front of P&Z.
So to do
That
that,
was
they
that.
would have to complete the application. We'd have to get it on the July P&Z agenda.
So it would be the end of
That's
July.
July 13th. If they recommend it for approval, then it would be brought back here around the first, second week of August.
So-
Actually, the second week, because it's a PUD.
So then basically what you would be asking for is just to amend within the 4 lots, the PUDs, to move your lot lines. I mean, whatever you guys decide, that would be up to you, but
It wouldn't be a movement of lot lines, it would be an
Changing
adjustment of the setbacks
the
per the
setbacks,
PUD.
right.
Created in the PUD.
Specific to this PUD.
Right. It wouldn't affect anything outside of the PUD, just within those 4 lots.
Correct.
Okay.
So if you move it back to the 35 feet, is it gonna make everything on there compliant?
Yes, it would.
It would. And then
We
it would also
probably-
allow,
We may want to look at the issue there on the property line to the south, because that's 22 feet, not 25 feet. But if they changed
within
it
that
to
PUD,
interior,
if they changed that
lines.
also,
so yeah, if they go through that process, we would verify all those dimensions and make sure that it makes everything
so in other
compliant.
words, it would allow anybody on lot 4, which would be you all, lot 2 and 3, the same opportunity to be within 35 feet, 22 feet. I actually have to agree with Ian. I think it's a cleaner process for us. It puts it back in front of planning and zoning, and then, because it's just within the PUD.
Correct.
And then that way, there's not a variance that's granted that would be outside of this PUD. It's specifically just to that.
Correct.
And obviously, the process would be followed. I mean, it's not a guarantee
No.
that the setbacks would be amended in this PUD. I mean, those setbacks are pretty standard for PUDs, and so how planning and zoning and how this board decided to take that up, I mean, obviously, that would be to be determined. I think it's really important to clarify today. We're not saying run back through the process and you're gonna get this thing cleaned up that way, but that's an option
And
to
I'm
try to
not.
get it
I guess
cleaned
what I'm
up.
saying though
Yeah.
is it gives the Planning and Zoning Commission the opportunity to actually look at it, view it, and have their determination before it comes back to us. Otherwise, it's just a variance.
That's right.
Commissioners, Gerald? Commissioner
I
Culpepper?
think that would be the best thing to do if this will clean this up and put everything back in compliance where it's in compliant.
Okay.
You know, the way it is now, if we issue a variance and he's gonna build another building that's
It's out of compliance.
out
We're
of
showing
compliance,
3
attached to a building
variances.
that's already out of compliance, how does that make any sense? I mean, to me, we shouldn't be doing that.
Okay.
But
Commissioner?
it's better to get it, go back.
Yeah, I know you guys are in a hurry, but this will clean it up way better than just a variance.
And basically, what it does really is that for
Gets the
you
monkey
all,
off your
when
backs.
you
you
decide
can
to
decide what the setbacks
sell
are.
it, then you're basically passing off something that's clean to some other buyer, which you purchased that's not, now it's turned into your issue. So,
We'll get her done.
okay, thank you all.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, guys.
And so I think at this point, we probably need to take some action on the variance application that was submitted, because that's still pending, correct, Don?
Okay.
Correct. Yep.
So, Commissioner Copenhaver?
I move that we deny the variance application submitted by Leslee Ham on property located at 9340 County Road 29.25, and return this to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
And so it won't be returned to the Planning and Zoning Commission. This is just a denial of the variance application, and then they can move forward with a new application if they choose.
Okay.
Second.
Does that mean we have to pay the $125 again?
If you wouldn't mind coming up to the microphone, that way we have it live for everybody to hear. Sorry, it's
Does that mean we have to pay the money again?
so it would be a separate application and fees would apply, correct, Don?
Correct,
Yep.
it's a different application, but we can get with you on that.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to deny the variance application submitted by Leslee Ham on property located at 9340 Road 29.25, Cortez, Colorado. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. All right, Don, other items?
I guess nothing pertinent at this point. We probably will set on the agenda on your workshop next week to discuss some of our problem properties, just because the top 3 are, well, 2 are kind of taken care of, so depends on what you want to do with those and what you might want to add.
Okay. Perfect. I'm sure you have a list.
Yeah. There's no parameters to it. It just entails a lot.
Okay. Very good. Anything else?
That's good for us.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you
Thanks.
all. Have a great day. All right, next up on our agenda is the public comment session. Montezuma County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all the members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name and address for the record prior to providing your comments, and comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. With that, the public comment session is open.
Good morning. My name is Mary Dodd, and I live at 1324 Melrose Avenue. I'm here today to ask the Board of County Commissioners to draft a resolution opposing the closure of the Family Birthing Center at Southwest Memorial Hospital. Aside from the fact that this decision was made without input from doctors and from our community, and aside from the fact that this constitutes a true public health emergency for the women and infants in our community, this closure also constitutes an economic emergency. I believe it will ultimately lead to the closure of the hospital and the devastation of our local economy. Research shows that for the communities they serve, rural hospitals are often an anchor institution, providing not only needed health care, but also a significant portion of jobs and millions of dollars in revenue in purchasing goods and services from the other businesses. As a major employer in rural areas, hospitals and their closures have tremendous impacts on the economies of those communities. Total economic effects can be thought of as consisting of 4 distinct sub-effects. Direct effects: hospital employees lose their salary due to the closure. Indirect effects: communities lose hospital purchases of other goods and services from the community, and that's community income. The goods and services hospitals purchase from other businesses create additional economic value for the community. When you add in these ripple effects, each hospital job supports nearly 2 additional jobs. Moreover, every dollar spent by a hospital supports $2.30 of additional business activity. Induced effects: the employees who lose their salaries don't spend their money. They don't have money to spend in their community. And then communities lose an attractant for future residents and business development. The presence of a hospital in a rural area is conducive and probably even necessary for future residents and economic development. Research indicates that the closure of a hospital in the community reduces per capita income by $703 a year, or 4%, and increases the unemployment rate a year by 1.6 percentage points. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. I'm James R. Myers. Again, I live at 41777 Highway 184 in Memphis, Colorado. Today I'm here to follow up with you on the fake or fraudulent public documents and our records. I have filed a lawsuit against your Honorable Judge Lawrence, as it is my right and my obligations, not only to myself, but to your children. Additionally, I am here to publicly ask Sheriff Steve Nolan to step down from his position. This is in direct results of Steve's acts on the 5th of this month. His acts this day include felony, child endangerment. Upon disclosing court documents to Mr. Steve Nolan, he abruptly stopped talking, lost eye contact with an alleged assailant. His desire to arrest, detain, and prosecute came to a halt. Upon reviewing facts, including video, the Montezuma County Child Safety Division claims this child, in these court records, is in serious danger. This danger stems from mandated reporters, including Sheriff Nolan, Judge Cutter, the child's grandfather, the child's father. They are positioning a competent child to commit criminal acts clearly against irrefutable evidence. This is DCS's statements. Steve Brunk has already stated Steve Nolan should be arrested for contempt of court with the fake records. I feel Steve Brunk has more to disclose about the Meth Mountain and Montezuma's trap house and who's running it. I wish to approach your grand jury for these issues and for the attempted murders, as I have washed the blood of innocent people off of my door now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Lindsay Yeager. I live at 822 Edith Street. I'm here this morning to share my utter disgust, fear, and heartbreak over the closure of the birthing center at Southwest Health System. I'm also here to ask you, the commissioners and the Board of Health, for help. The closure certainly affects women who are pregnant and planning to give birth, but it also affects so many more people. The hospital is saying that they will continue to have OBGYNs to do gynecological care, but having these doctors who can't perform births is like hiring a skilled home builder and asking him to clean your gutters. These doctors certainly will leave, and the hospital certainly cannot pay high salaries for people to do 1/3 of their jobs. So really, the headline should be that SHS stops providing women's health services. They claim the closure is temporary, but the CEO himself admits that there is no plan for reopening the unit. It's not something he's looking at, and it'll be the responsibility of the next CEO. There's a whole population of women who receive gynecological care for non-pregnancy related issues. These doctors also provide care for women experiencing birth and gynecological emergencies, things ER doctors and ER staff and EMS are not as experienced in or do not receive extensive training in. I myself have a severe condition called endometriosis, which causes infertility, pain, bleeding, and many other symptoms. Dr. Aaron Schmidt has performed my surgeries and managed my care. With no facilities in Cortez, I'll be forced to travel, something that I have the ability to do, which I recognize as privilege, but so many others in our community can't. For some in this community, a trip to Durango is impossible due to transportation, gas prices, and so on. Why not ask them to go to the moon? If the birth center closes and there's no women's care in Cortez, a woman whose fallopian tube has burst from an ectopic pregnancy will die of blood loss on her way to Durango from Cortez. A woman who's experienced an ovarian torsion, a twisted ovary, will have death of that organ before she can be treated. A woman who chooses a home birth because there's no birthing center here and experiences excessive bleeding after delivery will lose her entire blood volume before an ambulance can get as far as Hesperus. A baby whose heart rate is compromised due to a twisted or knotted umbilical cord stands absolutely no chance of survival, a loss I wish on no mother and no family. Women delivering babies on the highway between Cortez and Durango will become commonplace. The loss of this life-saving and life-sustaining service will no doubt be costly in lives. 200 births a year may not sound like many, but think of 200 more women in your community being at risk without this care. Make no doubt about it, the most dangerous thing a woman will do in her lifetime is give birth. Can I finish?
Real quickly.
Yeah. You may be asking yourself what you guys can do to help. First, I'd ask that you visit our Facebook page. It is full of women in your community who have been vulnerable and shared their stories. And I would ask that you attend the forum for for the public on Thursday. You guys have a powerful voice, and just your support means a lot. This is a healthcare emergency in Montezuma County. There's just no question about it. It's not dramatics. I just would ask that you would join our fight. I'm happy to answer any questions or provide any clarity to my statements.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Morning.
Morning.
My name's Ernie Williams. I live in Pleasant View, 28604 County Road 16. My question for you commissioners, and I was hoping the sheriff would be here. I want to know if you got a plan to shut the county down when it gets bad. Know who's coming in and out of our county. Because gentlemen, if you serve in the military and you can't see what's coming, I feel sorry for you. That's my question for you gentlemen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next.
My name is Donna Hauser, and I live at 9340 County Road 29. And my comment is, I was here last Tuesday. I'm going to start coming more often. And during your meeting, you guys were talking about the sheriff's vehicles. And my comment is, I would like to say that we should not decrease our fleet, as I feel like they save us. If you deplete our fleet, I feel like then what happens to the officers? I feel like we need those officers in our community. I feel like they're more valuable than our yards being clean and picking up trash. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Okay, with that, we'll close the public comment session, and we're going to move right along to our department reports. First up, we have vehicle maintenance. Mr. Hickman.
Morning.
Good morning.
I don't have a lot today. I just need to get the approval for Jen Spratlin's new pickup. So here's the bids we got. Morehart in Durango actually ordered these pickups for La Plata County, and La Plata County ended up not taking one of them. So they do still have some government incentive on it. That's why it's cheaper than everything else. So this one just kind of fell in our lap, so I think we should try to move on it. I did tell Ron Reisner over there to go ahead and hold it for me until I talk to you guys to get the approval, but it would be this one go to Jim Spratlin, and then Spratlin goes to IT.
When are you gonna have the list of the vehicles that we're going to get rid of? I mean, do you have kind of a,
I have a list already of the ones we got rid of earlier in the year.
Right,
We
but-
already got rid of a pretty good group of them.
I'm talking with the ones that are upcoming. I mean, there's a, like,
There's 3 back there right now that still need to go on public surplus. I try to get them up to, we have some coming down the line that I'd like to get it up to 5 or 6 before I put them on public surplus, so we can deal with all that in one chunk of time.
okay.
So, but I will bring a list to the meeting before I put those on public surplus so that everybody can see what's going up for auction.
All right, and then I think when we talked about this, we were gonna use the Title III funds from the, what, does that cover this? Looks like it's pretty close. Pretty close,
Pretty close.
pretty dang close, so. Questions, gentlemen?
No,
What's your pleasure then?
for that price, I would move we go ahead and authorize the fleet manager to purchase Chevy 1500 4x4 from Morehart, Murphy, and Durango.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the quote from Morehart Murphy Durango for a Chevy 1500 4x4 in the amount of $42,144. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there you go.
Save us some transportation money, too.
Absolutely. This will be the easiest one I've gotten in a long time. Don't have to go to Durango or Denver
Denver.
or Phoenix or Salt Lake. So,
Okay, there you go.
anything else? Okay.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Shane.
Shane. Building and maintenance, Dustin.
Morning.
Good morning.
We've done our filter change and belt checks at the SO, the coroner's office, Annex 1, 2, and 3, and the administration building. We've continued painting at Annex 3. That's been a Friday's project since they've been closed. We replanted some grass out here on the corner, the back of this building, where it's been kind of had dirt and gravel in that one little spot, starting to come up. Repainted all the exterior yellow outside that's been deteriorated from the winter months, and our normal mowing grass and taking care of the weeds the best we can. All this weather, the weeds have been liking to grow.
Okay. I've got a couple questions for you. At the last meeting, I asked you, and I don't know if you've had time to even look at it, but with the HVAC units, you know, what their life expectancy is and what kind of a plan that we have moving forward. If we have something that's 10 to 15 years old, what's the replacement cycle so that we can start, because of our budgeting process, capital that we're gonna have to put into that, because those things are, one, they're not easy to get, and two, they're
Pricey.
even more costly than they've ever been.
Yeah. It said that the life expectancy of rooftop units 20 years. So I'm thinking we should,
So you'll have us something to look at when we start budgeting for next year, what we're gonna have to look at for capital?
yeah.
Okay. Also too then, I don't know how to put, well, are you able to change the CO detectors and the smoke detectors in the jail? Have those been taken care of?
The smoke detectors?
Smoke detectors, CO detectors?
CO2 detectors. I guess my thing in summary would just be get with the sheriff.
Just get with the sheriff, make sure the jail is being taken care of.
Okay. There is a problem with that panel. I've been trying to get it fixed over there, and the electrician just hasn't gotten on it, so I'll continue.
Is that for the CO or the smoke?
Is he talking about the error code thing that's been alarming?
He just indicated
It
the
was-
CO and smoke detectors, and then a couple other things that you'll have to get ready to budget for, the gate, replacement of the gate.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
get with
I'll
the
get
sheriff.
Okay. Anything else?
I don't think I have anything else.
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Dustin.
And Commissioner, we can move past IT. He didn't have anything, and he's right in the middle of working on this broadband stuff, so.
Okay, well then, I see GIS just walked in, Mr. Roth. No one, come on down. I think he's putting you on the spot today.
Oh, you gotta sign it, oh, yeah. So, yeah, Windows K here.
I didn't touch it, man.
That was on my answer.
Okay, all right.
Hopefully it works. We've never tried it on this. Oh, here we go. VOCC display. So we're just going to show you a couple things. It's primarily the work that Nolan's been doing here the past few weeks. The first thing is it's called an open data portal. Just wanted to show you that. We had a functioning open data portal for a number of years, and then a software update broke it a couple years ago, and I mentioned it to Nolan, since he's kind of become the whiz here with all the ArcGIS Online stuff, to if he could take a look at it, and he had it up and running again here in a couple days or less. But what it does is it streamlines the people who want to come get our publicly available data. So we have two data download sites. We have our standard one, which people can come and they can grab our data. It's updated every night, and it's parcels, addresses, ownership tables in GIS format and also Google CAMZ format. That's a standard product we've always had. What the open data portal allows you to do, and this is what Nolan kind of rebuilt here, this interface, actually allows you to go in and request this data without getting too detailed on it. It allows you to go and request the data. It allows you to filter the data. It allows you to download it in a variety of different GIS and non-GIS formats, spreadsheets and various things like that. Do queries and then do custom downloads, and it's a pretty slick tool to be able to offer. So if we get heavy requests for certain types of data, we can just pop it on this site, and people can grab the data on their own without us having to spend time to export it to formats. We just put that in their ballpark. So actually, it looks like you've added a couple more things since I looked at it last. There, Nolan. So yeah, that's one aspect, and then I think another thing that Nolan's been working on, I'll just hand it over to you, is a recreation kind of viewer. We haven't made this live yet, but it's a pretty cool, what do you call this, a story map. It's an interactive.
Windows K again.
Yeah.
Well, since summer recreation is ongoing and there's a few people like that I know from out of state requesting, like, hey, you live in Cortez, is there like a good trail I can check out, or there's like recreation spots I can go visit? So here's like a little, like a short right off the highway guide for people visiting Cortez and Montezuma County, either by a day trip or overnight. But here is I compile like different trails, which is like, like a quick and easy way just to look at when they're visiting. And if they want to look at the website, the Montezuma County website, they can look at the recreation map, and this is part of the website here. But here is just like a short story of everything. It's called a story map, which is the ArcGIS application.
It's like a PowerPoint on steroids, kind of.
So here it just shows the basic locations of different recreation, biking trail, hiking trails. Say like when they can scroll through here to say, hey, Mud Springs, so I never heard of that, and they can click on it and it zooms to that point, and they can, it's like an interactive map, kind of like a Google map kind of story map, PowerPoint, so they can explore. And each of the areas they have like aqueducts. Here's like another interactive map for aqueducts. You can have good information. Say like you can click on a trail. It tells you the name of the trail, the distance of a trail, which areas to park. As you recall, I think where we had some concerned landowners saying that there were some bikers were mistaking their private road for access to the BLM trail. So here I kind of put like a little roadblock thing saying that private road, no public access. So, at least visitors can tell that that's not the access point for that main trail. Just some quick information for them. And talks about chutes and ladders, information of camping sites, plus the biking trails, information of Phil's World, and it shows the different parking sites. When they visit the area, they can zoom in, and each one of them they can click on the trail and see the distance. 6.4 miles, etc. What else we have here? Here's a 3D map of Phil's World. That way they can see the terrain, see the landscape, explore the topo, and then but pretty much everything is interactive. You can rotate it and do all this stuff and see how the trails go down the hills and up the hills and different valleys. So each one who visits the area can, just check out the topo sites and
So is
canyons.
the color a different level?
Like the different colors are just the different trail names.
Oh.
So here's one called the Stinky Springs.
Mm-hmm. Been on it. Rode it many times.
We can tell.
It's that one. It's that one to the right. That blue one. That Poquito Burrito.
Poquito Burrito. This is that green one,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. So it's 2.4 miles, and then it shows different parking sites as you scroll over.
There's a lot more we could do. I mean,
So-
we could grade trails by difficulty, which is a bit subjective as well. You can add things, originally we started as, average grade of the trail or steepest grade. There's a number of different metrics. Haven't gotten that quite finished yet, but this is.
And there's Carpenter Trails, which is in Cortez, and just a basic 2D map. Of course, you can click on it and it shows you the information of that trail. Mud Springs talks about off-highway vehicles. Same thing, you can click on it, zoom in.
I think this fits really nice with what, James has going on with the recreational study and making sure that people have easy access. It's better than just having, well, you can look anything up on our map and just have it be a free-for-all. This kind of guides people through the recreation resources, and I think it's absolutely fantastic.
And here's the Sand Canyon Trails. It's a 3D map also. You can click in, zoom in. Yeah, and each one, some of them have pictures, so you can, maybe the person who wants to check out the Sand Canyon, maybe they can't, access the trail all the way through. So you have some pictures of the different sites for each one you can click on. Some of the ruins that are along the bike trails. And yeah, some information stuff. There's and then you can zoom in, etc. If I can go back. That's it.
I'm pretty sure these are cooler mapping tools than they have on the Canyon Nation's website. So, but man, these are all important resources to our community, and this is just a fantastic addition we can build on. So.
And then, yeah, one concerns I got from James was saying that the public was saying that there's not enough resources like maps and shows them like location of dispersed camping and all these recreation areas. But there is information on there, they just need to look for it. But here, it's sort of like a one-shop kind of stop thing, so they can, access everything at once instead of searching around and can't find anything.
What we might need to do actually, because it's on our we haven't published on our website yet, but when we get to that point, we might actually need to make it so it's available in the visitor center. Maybe there's a QR code or a website people can visit, if they're looking for something to do in the hotels, and so they have easy access to those resources and they can really find this website. That's probably the biggest difficulty now, is just finding the resources that are available. Because you're not going to find this stuff if you go to the Beeline website or the Forest Service website, this level of interactive mapping. So.
Oh yeah,
That'd probably be a good idea, is to get it out there to the chambers, because, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think of using a GIS map for this. I mean, I use it for properties all the time, but not necessarily trails. So to get it out there for the people that are coming here, or even local people, some of our locals don't know that some of these trails exist. So
yeah,
we have to get it out there somehow.
One cool thing, you can use your phone, well, depending what kind of phone carrier or speed your phone. But when you're out there on one of these trails, you can click current position using your phone. And if you say, like, you want to see where your location is according to the trail, you can push the current location feature, and then the map will hover right over your location. So that way, it'll give you like a relative approximate location of your location on that trail, particular trail. So.
Does dispatch have this information? In case we get somebody down, they can
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty
give
sure
the responders some kind of an idea of where they're at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's. Yeah, I mean, there's a way we can do that too.
They do. On their dispatch mapping has all the trail information on it.
Okay.
Yeah. They have all of our mapping information. It's not quite in this format, but of course they don't necessarily need it in this format. They need it in a format that works.
Right.
Yeah, because coming off that canyon on the north side, that's a pretty rough canyon to go down.
Yeah, here.
It's
Yeah.
a tough hike when you're trying to pack somebody
Off
out.
of N Road.
Yeah.
That canyon is, I've done it several times.
Yeah, just switch
It's
back.
Pretty,
Yeah.
pretty steep. You could get somebody hurt in there.
That's helpful, 700 feet elevation gain. That's
Yeah.
significant.
Yeah, it's pretty, I mean, I went down there too, it's pretty, just loose rocks and everything, and a lot of, you know, stuff can go wrong. But yeah, it's just basic work in progress for recreation, and pretty much that's the end of it. And it just tells you to the link for the recreation map to the Montezuma website. But yeah, that's all.
Okay.
That's really neat. Thanks,
All
guys.
right, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Nolan. Anything else?
Nope, thanks. Thank you.
Keep going, man.
Yeah. And that's what he does in his
Spare time.
spare time. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I don't see anybody from the public lands here. We typically put them on at 10 o'clock, so we'll go by them and we'll jump into some unfinished business. First of all, we have our decision today after we had our conversation with all three school districts yesterday as it relates to the funding of the SRS Secure Rural Schools funds. All three districts were represented yesterday, and the negotiation, basically, we came up with was to split the funds 50-50, 50 to the school districts, 50 to the county, and it would be split in accordance to student enrollment. So basically 69% to RE1, 18% to Mancus, and approximately 12% to Dolores. So we will get those funds distributed just as quickly as they get us those numbers. So gentlemen, I guess we do have to take a formal action on that.
I move that we disperse the funds for to the 50% going to the school district, 50% to Montezuma County from the Secure Rural School funding. So what does it break down to? 115?
Pretty close.
It'd be about 115,000, 172 to
50-50.
Yeah.
Okay.
50-50, so.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to split the Secure Rural School funding for this year, 50-50, between the schools and Montezuma County. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, the next one we have up is a possible signing of a CDC infrastructure contract. We had our public health director here yesterday. She gave us a presentation on this. Basically, it's a combination of several different projects that they will be able to use this funding on. And it's in the amount of $274,926. Anything else, gentlemen, you want to add to this one?
No.
Okay, what's your pleasure?
Motion to approve the CDC infrastructure contract, task order number 23 FAA 00035.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept and sign task order number 23 FAA 00035 with the Colorado Department of Public Health and the Board of County Commissioners in the amount of $274,926. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Next up, we have our travel reimbursement. It was also discussed yesterday. It hadn't been updated since 2011, so we're bringing this forward. Basically, the mileage reimbursement will coincide with the GSA travel rate as it's set each year. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. Need a motion? So move, we upgrade our travel rate reimbursement from,
It would be just to the GSA
to the
travel. rate.
GSA allotted funds, whatever they rate it at.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the GSA travel rate for 2023, which is now 65.5 cents a mile. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we also have a letter of interest for the Minka Cemetery Board position. If you'll pull that up, Travis. This is the only one we have. And Commissioner Copenhaver, I'll let you chime in on this one since I think this is your district and I think you've had the conversations with the.
Yeah,
the lady.
Rachel Recorder is interested in serving on the Memphis Cemetery Board. She's basically a lifetime resident of the area. Her family's been there forever. I think she'll do a real good job. So I would nominate her to be on the Memphis Cemetery Board.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded to appoint Rachel McWhorter to the Memphis Cemetery District Board. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. You know, just a quick comment out there for everybody listening. You know, we have a task of appointing a lot of boards, and I'm very appreciative of even getting one application, but gosh, for anybody out there that wants to get involved with something, there are a lot of boards to serve on, and this board here has to appoint a lot of those. So anything that you guys can do, think about it, you know, try it. If you don't like it, obviously you can change, but there are a lot of boards to serve on. Okay. Then we also had a presentation yesterday in our workshop for Community Connections for an LOS, a letter of support. Anything else on this one, gentlemen?
No. I would so move, we sign the letter of support for Community Connections, supporting their endeavor with the Division of Transit and Rail through the Colorado Department of Transportation.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign the letter of support for Community Connections as it pertains to transit and rail. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Jerry, we have a liquor license to talk about?
My name's Jerry Frizzell. I'm with Montezuma County Clerk Recorders. I do the liquor license special events for Montezuma County. Today I have one for the Montezuma County Fair that would be held at the fairgrounds on July 21st, July 25th, and July 28th. And I have a letter from the Sheriff's Office where they will be doing the security request for those 3 days. The fair will be going on all week, but they're just going to have a liquor license for these 3 days.
So we can cover it now?
Yes, yes. They have changed it from doing the liquor license all week to having it just those 3 days. That's it.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
Motion to approve the liquor license application for a special event at the Montezuma County Fairgrounds presented by the Montezuma County Fair Board. Mary Bromwell is a Fair Board member. Be held at 23488 Road M, Cortez.
No,
Or
actually.
No, that's her address, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
they didn't put the fairgrounds
Okay,
on there.
well,
It'll be held at
Yeah, I
the
see that
fairgrounds.
now. I just now noticed that the address is not on there.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept an application for a special events permit for the Montezuma County Fair. The dates of 7/21, 7/25, and 7/28. to be held at the Montezuma County Fairgrounds. Any further discussion?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, guys.
Yep. And I see we have a couple guests in the back. I'll bring you guys up right at 10 o'clock. Good morning. Been a long time. About 24 hours, right?
You haven't changed positions since then, have you? I mean,
Not yet, not
Okay.
yet, no.
thought maybe
Casey
you got
hasn't vacated her position there at the park yet, so I'll have to wait a little longer for that one, I guess.
Well, good morning, Derek. We are now, Derek is now the
Field manager.
field manager at the Trace Rios Field Office for the BLM. And beside you, we have Ray O'Neill, who is N.M.P.M. Monument Manager. All right, I'm always getting close. You're good. All right. So whoever wants to start first.
Sure, I'll go pretty quick this week. So I did look into the lands for disposal topic that had been asked about when you guys were back in Washington.
Yep.
And there isn't a specific project going on associated with that. But now that it's been brought up, was I able to talk a little bit with Commissioner Candelaria this last weekend, you know, about looking at potential opportunities. James Dietrich also talked to me about it and identified a parcel across the road from the community college, you know, that might be a potential, you know, first option to figure out what the process is and how to go through that. So I'll be talking with my staff. One of the things is that we are short 2 lands and realty specialists. That's who would, you know, take that project on. So I can't promise that we'll get to that real soon, but as soon as we get those positions filled, you know, that would be something that would be high on the list as far as looking into and figuring out what that process is. With me being new to the BLM, it's a learning process for myself as well. So, but it's on the radar now, and we'll definitely, you know, take a look into that. So, is there any questions on that?
I think I'll just elaborate a little bit more about our conversation that we had this weekend, because I had asked Derek about this with these orphan lots that we have around here, that the BLM owns, and there's some 40 acres, 80 acres, I mean, just kind of random, that are not continuous or contiguous with any of the other parcels. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is to get those back into private ownership, because they really don't serve any purpose per se for the BLM. So it was a good conversation. We did have that conversation while I was back in Washington with the head of the BLM. So we're trying to get those back out into private ownership, specifically these orphan lots. We've already identified them on a map, and I appreciate that at least they're in the pipeline and that we can, you know, work to getting these back out into private ownership. So thank you, Derek. Thank you for listening. Sometimes it just takes going out and doing something different to really sit down and have some conversations, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then a couple of months ago, I had talked to you all about the public lands rule and that that draft was out for review. Those comments are due next week, so I just wanted to give a quick reminder that if the county is wanting to provide any comments, that the deadline is on June 20th.
Okay.
And then the last thing is just the aqueduct parking lots out there by Mencus. The parking lots are in. There's still a little more work to do, but we're waiting on some culverts and some gates and things like that to finalize things. But Fortunately, it wasn't, we were a little worried that it was gonna take a while for those parking lots to go in and that people were gonna be parking on the county road and creating a safety issue, but they were able to get in there, level it, spread the gravel, and then allow people back in for parking, so that didn't become an issue, thankfully. And like I said, we're hoping here in the next month for it to be completely finished and be, you know, another asset for the public to utilize for access to those bike trails out there. And then next year, we'll be doing, you know, quite a few more parking lots throughout the county to just provide, you know, more opportunity for our recreationists to have a place to park. And once those plans are finalized, I'll give you more details at that time. And that's all I had.
Perfect. What's the capacity of that new parking lot?
You know, I don't know. There's two of them, and one's bigger than the other. And for some reason, for the bigger one, like 20 is in my head, and then I think the other one is about half that capacity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
10, so about 30 total.
20, 30 vehicles.
Yeah.
Because it does get pretty jammed up out there on the weekends.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But I'm not positive on that. I'll get that specific
Okay.
information and get back to you.
All right, thanks. I was just curious.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Questions for Derek?
No.
No? Okay. All right. Ray?
All right, so a few updates. Biggest one for me is about our visitor center and museum. Major floor stabilization project over the last few months. Concern that the front slab of the visitor center was settling and that we would walk in one day and there'd be a big crack in the floor, making it unsafe for folks. The solution was to drill 100 holes through the floor and then put jacks in to raise the floor up. As always, these projects take longer than expected, but we are going to be open tomorrow for the next 2 weeks with a bare concrete floor, and then closed again around the end of the month, and then 3 more weeks until we're open completely around July 17th with a stabilized floor. So we've been closed longer than expected, longer than we would have liked. Along with this opening on June 24th, Saturday, we're having a special event, an Indigenous art market, which is more about music and presentations, and should be a fun event for folks between 9 and 4:30 on the 24th. If you haven't been out to Painted Hand, I would encourage you to do so. We have a new road, a new 20-space parking lot, picnic pavilion, restroom, trails in good shape. We still have some interpretive signs to put in, but that project is mostly complete and a vast improvement over what was out there before. James Dietrich asked that I talk to you guys a little bit about visitation trends on the monument. I know you're working on a outdoor recreation strategic plan this summer, and we're excited to be a part of that. We believe we have about 150,000 visitors a year coming to the monument. A little bit of voodoo there, trying to figure out numbers with all the different ways that people can come into the monument. And there's no doubt that we're double counting some folks as they go to different sites. But our visitor center has about 30,000 people a year coming to it. The Sand Canyon Trailhead about 35,000. Lowry Pueblo, 40,000. Painted Hand about 9,000. We expect that's going to go up with the improvements. And then the Upper Sand Canyon Pueblo, the interpretive trail, about 9,000. And what we've seen is increasing numbers over the last 10 years. We saw a peak in 2021 everywhere but our visitor center as people were looking for places to recreate that weren't necessarily as much inside with COVID. We've dropped a little bit over the last year from the 2021 peak, but we're still in the same realm as where we were in 2019 or so. That's all I have, unless you guys have questions for me.
I don't know. That road to Painted Hand, yeah, that does look nice.
Good.
It looks like a nice road. I didn't go down it, but I just went past.
Sure. Next time.
I guess
looks a much improvement over what was there.
Yeah, and sure. The parking lot was just parking in the slick rock between the trees. Mm-hmm. Now there's a 20-site parking lot. It's nice. If you look at the classic pictures of the monument, it's that Painted Hand Tower, and I believe the site's now getting the attention that it deserves.
Good deal. I'll have to go look at it because I have not been down there. recently, so, perfect. All right, well, gosh, guys, that was quick and easy. Thank you, I appreciate you coming in. All right.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
great day. Okay, natural resources, James Dietrich.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Morning.
I'll start off the report with some updates on the paths of Mesa Verde. Yesterday, we went through the 30% FIR review for segment B. That's from Mesa Verde to the fairgrounds. Once we get through the FIR 30%, this is a pretty complete set of plans at this point. And so the intention is to kind of uncover any potential flaws through the plans at this point, try to address any situations that have arisen through the environmental analysis on that. And we have a few. First of all, we've got some endangered species located near the CDOT rest area, and this is an endangered penstemon. So it feels like we're a penstemon. That's a plant. It's a flower.
Okay.
Yeah, so we feel like that there is potential for rerouting that trail to just thread the needle basically on that. So we don't feel like that's any kind of a potential fatal flaw or anything like that. The other thing is that we've got a prairie dog colony that they're telling us we may need to consider relocating. I've got some thoughts on that, probably not appropriate to share. So anyway.
So to consider relocating, so what does that mean?
You're not on any list.
So we've considered it. Does that mean we've talked about it and we've considered it and now it's over with, or what does that really mean?
No, we still need to figure out how, if the prairie dogs are actually going to have to be removed, or whether or not we can figure out some way to mitigate the impact on the prairie dog. So that one's still up in the air a little bit, and so what they're going to do is send the specialist out there to reevaluate both the endangered plant as well as the prairie dog. And I don't know if those endangered plants are in the prairie dog's menu or anything like that either, but obviously a lot of overlapping issues there. Anyway, those are all solvable problems, and I'll get myself in trouble if I keep joking about it here. But so anyway, those are problems. We will find a way through those. They're not insolvable by any stretch of the imagination. So we'll figure out a way with that. We've also run into a situation where we've got southwest willow flycatcher habitat in McElmo Creek at the west end of the fairgrounds. One of the options around that, and let me kind of explain, the habitat happens to be tamarisk and Russian olive. So I've got some ideas on how we can handle that. But
So do we.
yeah. Another way that we can deal with this is just dealing with the construction window. Shifting the time frame on that might be and that's what CDOT's suggesting. And again, I think we probably need to take care of our tamarisk problem down there also. But we can shift the window and work with that one. That's not a deal killer. We've also found 3 new archaeological sites that are just outside of the highway, they're in the highway right-of-way, just outside of the pavement boundary on that state land board. 2 of those we'll be able to find a way around pretty easily. The third one is more difficult, and they're still trying to figure out what the appropriate way to handle that is. Likely we'll be adding a short stretch of guardrail and bringing that trail up as close to the highway as possible. Another option, which they don't seem to be really very responsive to, is just burying that thing. It does have some rubble that's evident, and the concern is that people will be out there kind of wandering all over this thing and picking up artifacts. To me, a 12-inch lift of good topsoil over the top of that, and you pretty well got your problem solved. You'll never see that again, hopefully. So there are ways forward on this. I'm just sharing with you that it's just,
So these
it
sites
takes
are
a lot
just-
of conversation.
The sites are just rubble?
It's just rubble, yes.
And it's already in the right of way. I can't imagine it not being already disturbed.
That's kind of the way we see it. They say that there is a high potential for having human burials there. And again, it seems like camouflaging these things, put dirt over the top is probably a good approach to that. Very, very easy. And also, you're really not going to have folks out there kind of noticing a pile of rubble. I think it's pretty unnoticeable anyway. It's out there in that sagebrush. Boy, you'd really have to be looking to, somebody riding a bike by or something like that. You probably never see that, It's not what you're out there looking for. Again, I think there's solutions to all this, but it takes a little bit of work within the agency to get there. So we have no word yet on the TAP grant for the 160B intersection. We talked about having to realign the highway a little bit through there and add some guardrail and such. No word on that grant yet, but we should be hearing about it sometime here by the end of the month. So permits for the BLM right-of-way and State Land Board are underway. To get ourselves through the FIR, the 30%, we were supposed to have all of our permits in place. CDOT has kind of made an exception to that because we have a process that will guarantee us a way forward on that. So they didn't hold us up on that, thankfully. State Land Board did not seem to be real receptive to the idea of doing an outright purchase of right-of-way. And they're in a process of reevaluating their leasing structure. And of course, that's causing some problems for the gun club down there, virtually everybody that uses that property and is facing with signing a new lease. There are a lot of questions there because they cannot give us any idea of what the new leasing structure is going to be yet. So, it puts us in a position too where we do not want to pick up a lease down there before we're ready for construction because you're just paying for something that you're not utilizing yet. Right. So fortunately, CDOT was receptive to that and understood that position. They're not going to force us to get a lease before we're ready for it. So we'll continue to keep working on that, but the State Land Board has been more difficult than I would have expected to work with on that. See, the segment A, that would be Cortez to the fairgrounds. We're working through the right-of-way on that to get us around the Vista Verde pinch point there. So far, that's looking really good. 2 landowners have been really pretty supportive of this, and at least one of them felt like actually having that trail would help her to manage some of the difficult things that she's seeing happen on her property. So we feel like there's a very high likelihood that we'll find a way through with a minimal amount of right-of-way, but landowners that seem to be very supportive of it. One of the advantages to that alignment is that it really kind of ties back into both the park system as well as our commercial areas of Cortez, that being primarily that eastern area where all the hotels are located. So it's really a superior alignment, I think. We evaluated one that was further to the south, but it carries a lot of wildlife impacts, and the landowners were just not as supportive of that particular alignment. Interestingly, though, because initially that was the ones that they felt like carried the best value, but after fully evaluating it, I think they're seeing more value shifting that slightly to the north. So everything is looking really good on that one so far. We're moving forward with the OREC study. I've been able to get the vehicle and pedestrian counters. We're learning how to set those up and use them. And then we're actually seeking volunteers from the cycling community and our recreational clubs out there to actually go out and be able to talk with people and to do an intercept study, basically asking them just a few, like 3 or 4 basic questions. Where are you from? How long do you plan to stay here? What's your recreational focus? Things, really broad questions, just to kind of get, this is not a scientific study, it's just a kind of gain broader understanding of what's happening out there. Let's see. I also have been reappointed finally to the BLM Southwest RAC. We will be having our first meeting tomorrow, and so I'll participate in that. One of the things that we'll be discussing right off the bat is the proposed BLM rule changes, and as Derek kind of alluded to, that those are coming up here pretty quickly. I'm personally opposed to those rule changes, and really what it does is it is an attempt to elevate the conservation value above all the other values outlined in FLPMA. All along, we feel like the conservation values have been a part of that mix, but to elevate those to to the primary directive, I'm opposed to that. I believe the county as a whole is generally going to be opposed to that also. Feels like the BLM is doing an adequate amount of environmental research and protection, and virtually every project you have out there goes through a pretty rigorous process as it is. So to turn everything on its head and make that the primary directive just does not feel like is kind of the direction we want to go with things. Then the last thing I've got is the CFLRP, the Forest Landscape Restoration Program. We are having our annual meeting today for that, and that should go, it's actually started right now, and I'll join right after this report, and it should go to about 4 o'clock today. It's the annual meeting, and we'll re-elect people to participate in the Coordination Council, and I'll throw my name back in on that one, so hopefully I'll get re-elected to the Coordinating Council on that. And also participate in the Projects and Places Committee, and threw my name back in the ring for that to try to get back on that committee. And as one committee that I think is really important for Montezuma County, we really want to try to direct as many of these projects into our area as possible. And we've got, kind of several NEPA-ready projects that are in queue on that for this year. But what we really need to do is start looking at years in the future to make sure that all these projects that they've got NEPA ready align as closely as possible with the CFLRP legislative directive. And, if there are anything in there where there's not a complete alignment, we'll try to find a way to make it align better. Just to make sure we get as many projects in Montezuma County as we can get. And I guess that pretty well sums up my report for the week. I will be out of town until next Wednesday, so heading up to Montrose for 2 days, and then I'm going to take Friday off and head up to Greeley to visit my family up there. So I guess that's concludes my report.
Okay. I have one question.
Okay.
The email was sent to all of us as far as a cooperating agency through FLPMA, correct? It talks about coordination, cooperation, and collaboration.
Correct.
So if we look at Garfield counties, which is probably the most significant, cooperation is basically where we've always wanted to be since the beginning of time, because it actually holds our federal partners to the same basic guidelines as what we are held to. So I guess I was a little, I read that email and I guess I didn't really understand it. Why would they want us
Why now?
to not
Right.
to not be part of the cooperating? Because cooperating in our mind was the biggest part of everything that we needed to do, is we wanted them to cooperate with us.
Right.
I mean, they can communicate and they can collaborate, but we really need them to cooperate.
Right.
So any
Yeah, okay. So
any light on that, maybe?
My take on that is FLPMA pretty well establishes what the federal agencies are supposed to do, and it establishes how that relationship is supposed to work with local government. And we're supposed to have a government-to-government relationship outside of the public process with the federal agencies. And so that is what the coordination really is supposed to be. And that's already enumerated through FLPMA. That establishes it. I do not see any way that the entering into a cooperating agency status relieves the federal government of any of their obligations under FLPMA. Now that has been something that some folks are really kind of promoting is that, boy, if you enter into these cooperating agency agreements, then you're giving up all your rights. I'm no lawyer, but the way I see it, and after talking to some lawyers, I just do not see that that alleviates any of the obligations under FLPMA. Those remain in place. People have different opinions on that. And Gerald, I think we've been down this path before with the coordination, and so I mean, it's for real. They are supposed to coordinate with us. It just tells you in FLPMA what they're supposed to be doing. So cooperating, that may engage in some other agreements also. But it certainly doesn't, in my mind anyway, alleviate any of the responsibility that they've already been directed by Congress to handle.
Okay.
So that's my take on it. Again, some folks feel like the coordination is going to be some kind of a silver bullet, but it just doesn't look like that as a pathway to actually tell the federal government how they're going to do things. They really are supposed to be coordinating with us all the time anyway.
All the time.
And that's government to government outside of the public process, and we should be we should be given their plans ahead of time, and they should be telling this kind of stuff, working with us before they go through the public process on that. So anyway, again, that's my take on it. I'm not an attorney, but and there are a lot of different opinions on this one. But
Sounds like it. Okay. I was just curious of what your thought was. I think you were on that email thread also, so haven't had the opportunity to talk to you yet, but.
and my mind is open on this one. I mean, if we see some other advantages to sticking to the coordination over the cooperating agency agreements, I mean, I'm open to listening, and we all should be, but I just don't see it at this time. So we'll keep listening and working with our constituents to figure out how to make this work as best we can. But it's pretty hard to find the silver bullet for the federal government.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, James.
All right. Ian had to step out. He's in the middle of a
Hearing.
project, so we'll skip Ian and we're going to go right to Mr. Anderson.
Well, I can assure you that my presentation is not going to be any outshine prairie dogs and tamaris. That's so last week was really busy, nothing spectacular. We started our preliminary budget presentation meetings. Had some yesterday, gonna have some more this afternoon. Met with Steve Bowerman, actually phone call, trying to figure out what we're gonna do with this fire suppression system. Sounds like there may have been some miscommunication, so he's backtracking and hopefully have an answer for me this week. Phone calls regarding some road concerns. Budget committee met with the sheriff and town of Dolores on the contract negotiations. Reviewed a case from the courts, and obviously I'm not an attorney, but is it related to Proposition HH? We submitted the resolution, but it sounds like the court overruled a portion of that, so we'll just have to see how Proposition HH plays out. And we have a new DSS director that started yesterday. Met with her and Gina yesterday morning, and she's on board and hitting the ground running.
Best of luck to her.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And with that, to my right today.
Usually I don't have much to report on phone calls and emails, but this week was a little bit different. I received a lot of input from a hospital closing their birthing center. So I'm going to the meeting tomorrow night, and it's at 6 o'clock at the ambulance barn over on the north side of the hospital. I'm sure there'll be quite a few people there. I would caution people that this is a hospital district meeting, and they don't tell SHS how to operate their facility. They are kind of the landlord over the buildings and stuff, but I'm sure there will be a lot of people there that are pretty discontent with what's going on to voice their opinion anyway. Also this weekend, and I'll let Commissioner Candelaria and Copenhagen elaborate a little bit more, but we were up to Dolores River Canyon with Senator Bennett and spoke a lot on the NCA. And with that, I'll turn it over to you guys.
Okay. Commissioner Copenhagen.
Yeah, this past week is busy for me because I spent a lot of time at the rodeo doing the veterinary work for the fairgrounds and stuff, that since the PRCA rodeos have to have a vet on the grounds before the rodeo can start, and you have to be there until it ends. So Thursday morning I spent all morning out there at the slack, and that night till 10 o'clock again from 7 to 10, and then I got my daughter to do it on Friday night, and then I was back again on Saturday night. So took up quite a bit of time, and like Ken, I've had quite a few calls as far as the closing of this birthing center. I've had some discussion with some people that actually know a little bit about the financial situation that's going on there, and according to them, that this birthing center was losing quite a bit of money every year. And I think that's what's driving this closure, is the fact that it has lost money consistently over the last few years. Just what I've heard. Other than that, mostly just phone calls, and like Kent said, we did meet with Senator Bennett, had some discussion about different water issues, possibilities of doing some infrastructure rebuilding in some of our water facilities around here is coming forward. If we can get some of the money that they've appropriated for the Colorado River projects, we're gonna intend on working at some of those projects if we can do some of that for our water infrastructure around this whole area. Otherwise, most of it's gonna go to Southern California, and we won't get any, so we might as well try to get some of it and try to make some infrastructure improvements around here. Some of this is 100 and some years old, and it can use some help. So we had some discussion with him about that, and he seemed very supportive of us doing some of these projects. So hopefully we can get something done. That's
Okay.
about all I got.
All right. I had a TPR meeting, a Transportation Planning Region meeting Thursday. It was actually relatively quick. We only spent a couple hours over there. Talked a lot about the study for House Bill 1101, how that's going to look. Helen Kadich, who is Senator Hickenlooper's aide, gave kind of a breakdown on that. I'm sorry, Jamie Grimm. And then we had congressional updates from Helen Kadich also. We also had a presentation, and we've also sent in a letter. CDOT wants to charge access lineal foot fees for the fiber that we're working diligently to get our middle miles from basically Pagosa into Montezuma County. If they charge these types of fees, which are reoccurring annual fees of 33 cents per foot, it's going to be too significant for us to even look at, because it's a reoccurring cost that would equal about $340,000 a year for us, just to have that in CDOT's right of way, which becomes absolutely unaffordable for us here in Montezuma County, and it sounds like it would be for Archuleta and La Plata also. So one of the commissioners in La Plata County are kind of the lead, along with our IT director here. So we're working on that diligently to try and get CDOT to change their mind. I want to give you just a real quick synopsis of the legislative report. Now that it is truly, actually, really all final and over with. We had 617 bills that came through this year. We had 224 House bills that passed, 260 Senate bills that passed, for a total of 484. We had 80% that were passed and 20% that failed. Some of the big ones for us, House Bill 1194, which was closed landfills and remediation, affects us significantly since we are a county that still runs a landfill. This would affect us on the portion of the landfill that's been closed for a long period of time, and we wouldn't, CDPHE was pushing to do a lot more remediation, even though they've been closed for a significant amount of time. Senate Bill 059, which is the State Parks and Wildlife Area Local Access Funding, a request for a $2 fee imposed on roads. The funds would be available in 2025. For us in our area, we have a couple of state parks that use our roads that are significantly impacted. One in Mencos, which is Jackson Gulch. And the other one, which is the Dolores Norwood Road that accesses Lone Mesa State Park, and Lone Cone State Park, which is further up the road. There will be funding available in 2025 for that. House Bill 1057, which is restroom amenities for all genders in public buildings, is all I can say is look this thing up. It's a very convoluted bill, specifically in older buildings that we have here, of how we comply with that bill. Another one that could affect us, House Bill 1287, the modification for county short-term rentals, basically a licensing authority. More to come on that. We don't do anything, but there will probably be in the municipalities. Senate Bill 290, which is the natural medicine regulation and legalization of healing centers. If you guys have followed this at all, this is basically the magic mushrooms that they talk about. That's just one more input of something that we're going to have to deal with, probably within our sheriff's department, our jail. So it is going to affect us indirectly, but then probably even more directly as it grows. And those are probably the biggest ones that are going to affect us as a county, other than obviously Senate Bill 303, reduce property tax and voter approval on revenue change. And I'll tell you, I can't, as we start our budget process, this is something extremely significant to us. So if the rate, we've all seen our valuations rise. The valuations have went up. So what you have to understand now is that the rate is set at 6.9%. If they move that back down to the 6.5 or the 6.25, the rate adjustment goes down, which then significantly affects the income that the counties get. The conversations that we've had is the state is trying to take any access to the funding, and it's going to put everything back onto the communities of the counties, which is a big negative number for the counties, which will affect us significantly. So there's a lot to this bill. If you guys are watching it or following it, hold on to the shirt tails. It's going to be a wild ride. That's it for the legislative report. Then I'm going to kind of talk Commissioner Copenhaver up a little bit here. I was his stand-in. He was out busy, like you said, at the rodeos. I was the one that got chosen to go raft down the Dolores River for 2 days. Pretty tough duty, but I was happy to go bear the sunshine in the water. Had a lot of dignitaries down there. Hickenlooper did not make it. He sent his aides from Washington and Durango. Senator Bennett and his family was there. The BLM, Forest Service,
Montezuma, Dolores County.
Montezuma, Dolores County, San Miguel County, Ute Mountain Ute Tribe. I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. The Dolores River Boating Advocates, special thank you to Amber Clark for putting this all together.
La Plata County.
La Plata County. Anyway, it was a great conversation piece for a lot of people to get down and see the NCA, and a lot of work that Commissioner Copenhaver has been involved with for, sounds like, the last 12 to 15 years. So I thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I'm more than happy to do a stand-in for you when you can't take care of it.
Especially if it's floating down the river.
Especially if it's floating down a river. But it was a lot of fun, a lot of great conversations around a campfire, and I would also, if you've never been down that river valley, if you get the opportunity, it's actually pretty cool. And I'll leave it at that. We did have our workshop yesterday. We've taken care of a lot of the business in our meeting today. And I will echo what Commissioner Lindsay said, that there will probably be more than one of us at the meeting tomorrow night of the MCHD at 6 p.m. Along with Travis, we are starting our preliminary budget hearings, and you know, we're going to work very diligently to try and, even if the rates go down to the 6.2%, somehow figure out how to function within those dollars. And with that, that's all that I have, gentlemen.
I have one other thing. I'd like to thank the Ute Mountain Rodeo crew. I had a good time Friday night. They did an excellent job, put on a great show. Other than that, I move to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn this June 12th, 2023 meeting. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.